Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the memory of my pup, Geordie, all the while fixing it up for some pretty major cruising someday. That's the hope anyway. If that's the sort of thing that you might find interesting, please consider sticking around. We'd love to have you. And so what are we up to this week? Well, if you've been following along, we're finally going to put some steps in the carcass of that companionway staircase right there. Let's go. Okay, let's have a quick look at the drawing for the steps. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. We don't need the dimensions. Okay, so you should be able to recognize, sorry for the glare, it's funny, the camera sees it, but I don't. Very strange. Anyway, okay, so this is basically the carcass that I've already built. And here's the two 2x6s at the bottom that's going to support it. Here's the door to the aft cabin. So what I need to do now is build the actual steps, which consists of treads and risers. If you look carefully here, you'll see that there's actually a break in the tread. Well, that's where the piano hinge will go, and this part of the tread will lift up. This has to be big enough so that when the tread lifts up, it can stay balanced upright, it won't fall down again because it has to sit against the nosing of the tread above. Anyway, I've got that pretty much worked out. I think it's going to be great. Now I have to consider how I'm going to subdivide the storage area below. Originally I was just going to put straight partitions down between the three steps, but this makes this one very tall, not very useful partition. So I think I'm going to subdivide it like this. If I just go back another step here and zoom in, you can see that I've added a partition dividing this section from all of this, and then just a small partition which will make this just a little locker here, making this a rather large useful space, which will be quite useful for the likes of, yes. All right, here we go. So we have the carcass and we have the material for the steps. Now they're already cut a bit too long because I have to trim them to fit, but basically they'll go there, there, and then one sits right in flush at the top. But before we make up the treads, I gotta make the risers, which is the vertical part that you kick with your toe when you're walking upstairs, and because they set in exactly where these are gonna set up. So let's do that. Okay, the piece I'm going to use for this is heavily figured. It's got two, well, they're not quite knots, but they're near knots. And I don't really mind seeing that here in these risers. This is just oil on it from when I was doing something else. But I think I'd rather not be using this plank somewhere where it has to be prettier. Okay, let's make it. Okay, you won't be able to see it, but I've measured off for the locations of the next two risers, and I'm going to install this one now dry because as some of you may know, that this needed to be splayed a little bit to sit properly into there, and I want this to be in its final position, before I start measuring for the subsequent ones so that it's all squared up. So let me get this on at least dry. Okay, I'm going to do a test fit to make sure that the little bit of splaying I gave that is exactly what I'm looking for. There. Beauty! Perfect, perfect. Okay, so the next piece is the divider or the partition between the, if you remember in the drawing, between the first section and the big section, and that will support the bottom of the next riser. So it's marked off. So what I'm going to do is drill through from inside outwards, and that lets me know where I can drill from the outside in and hit the wood right on. Okay, so let's build this riser. Obviously, I'm going to have to put the vacuum and the saw on separate circuits. Not entirely convenient, but possible. There we go. Very nice. Now, that's not done because, as you might remember in the drawing, there's a little extension piece of the tread, and I want to dry fit that onto here now and get it done. Always with the light. Always with the light. I may not have mentioned first time around, but my first cut is always just cutting off the rough cut, because I order my wood dressed only two sides because I never use the full width of it, so there's no real reason. And the saw does such a nice job of it, it's practically, well, except right now. Anyway, so that's why I'm always taking off that little bit with the first cut. Now we take off 2 inches. Okay, now honestly I could probably glue this on now, but because I don't really want to do any gluing and sanding unless I'm sort of doing it in batch mode, I'm going to just dry fit this as well. It's been pointed out, and it's very true, that when I broke the screw last week, I broke it using an impact driver, which really isn't the right tool for this sort of thing, because impact forces, of course, are much greater than simply the torque required to turn the screw. And really, I could have driven it with my drill. However, I only have one drill, and switching back and forth between the bit, I'm happy to just turn these in by hand. Right. There we go. Perfect. I think it's one of those things, you know? Step here, yeah. I'm telling you, freshly varnished, shiny soles with sawdust, very slippery. Okay, let's put these in the right place, Peter. In the right place. Think here. This is not gonna fit. No. This kind of stuff is terrifying. Put one hole in the wrong place, and either I rebuild the stairs or I look at it forever. All right then. One more. Where is it? That one was tight. Taking a rectangular object and straightening it out inside the confines that are exactly the same size as the object are a bit complicated. When the board is only 3/4 of an inch thick, well, you can just squeak it. When it's suddenly about 2 3/4 of an inch thick, it's a little harder to do. And I don't want to mar anything up, so I'm going to have to do it further down here, where I will probably make a little marring mark. All right. Okay. Alright, it's been a while since I've given you much of a tour of what's going on in here. You're watching everything from across the room. So we're pretty much set. Of course, the first riser was very straightforward. The second riser with its tread extension. And the third riser with its tread extension. And you'll notice that the top tread, well here, let's put a little mock-up tread on. This one will be down here, roughly like, let me get my hand in the right place, roughly like that, and it'll open up there. This one will be here, roughly, and open up like this, and this one will be up here, and open up like that. Now you'll notice this one is a lot, not a lot, but somewhat smaller, and that's just the nature of the design of the steps. So anyway, I'm really pleased. Okay, treads, if you remember last time, I cut them out to rough lengths. Obviously, they're significantly longer than they need to be. So I just have to put a bullnose on the front, basically a round over, because a stair tread, right, is rounded on the front. And I'm going to put a full 3/4 inch round over, in other words, 2 3/8, two 3/8 round overs with this little trim motor. So let's set up for that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A little sanding and that'll be so nice. Let's do 2 more. so nice. I love it, I love it, I love it. This nasty little trim router is one of the very, very few tools that came with me from my old life. And I know that because the way the wrenches are tied onto the plug here by my old lead carpenter, Todd. And I think every time he used this thing, he cursed it because the mechanism on it was actually pretty bad. Anyway, this was a big part, and Todd was a big part of some fabulous stuff. And if you're out there, Todd, didn't we make some great stuff together? And, I mean, obviously everyone else in the crew. Wow. Good times. Okay, now for probably the most stressful part of this whole project. Let's pretend this is a stair tread. Well, the top stair tread will fit in there just like that. Yes, it's too long, etc. And there'll be a piano hinge here, and it'll tip up. And in fact, it'll be able to sit right over flush, and I can get at whatever I have in here. Awesome. The next tread down has to sit in here like this. And then when it tips up, it has the problem that it hits this little overhang here. Now, I knew this was going to happen. I wanted this overhang for, well, really for design. So what I had planned to do, excuse me, is slice off 3/8 of an inch of the end of this tread, move it over the 3/8 so when it comes up, it clears it, and the remaining 3/8 stays permanently onto the carcass. Now, it's not that ugly. That sounds ugly. There's also going to be a support piece under here, which is large enough to carry both the little piece that gets glued in here and the piece that comes up when it's in its down position. Of course, a lot of the load when you're walking up a staircase is actually carried by the riser, but I might as well have the ends of each tread also very well supported. Now, okay, this little piece of 3/8, it's actually going to be less because of some clearance, could have been grain in this direction and it would be pretty robust. But I really like the idea of it being grain matched and just the extension of the same thing. This sapele mahogany is extraordinary, stable, fine-grained stuff. The prospect of cross-cutting a 3/8 piece of a step, it would just fall apart if it was many woods. But this stuff, it might just do it. Plus, when I attach this, I'm going to first varnish it on all sides, make it a basically uniform thing, and when it gets attached here, it'll only be tacked with brads. Gosh forbid it needs to be replaced, or a smarter system, maybe grain the other. Anyway, at least it won't be, you know, disastrous trying to deal with it breaking if it does. Of course, I have to do it on both sides. Okay, there's even more. The bottom step has the same problem. Of course, it doesn't run into this, but it does run into the doorstop of the door. So it has to sit, the step here has to sit between the doorstops and the door, because actually the door lands here and the doorstops come all the way down and onto the top of the tread. So this one has to clear that, and that's even narrower. Did you get all that? I barely do. All right, for those of you who are actually interested in this, I've changed my mind. This step could have been 2 3/4 almost. The bottom step can only be 2 1/4. So instead of having 3 different width steps, I'm actually going to make both the lower trimmed steps 2 1/4. That gives me the other advantage in that I have significantly larger little side blocks here. Why did they have to be microscopic? There's no harm of this coming up. I just have to be able to reach in and get whatever it is I store down there. So yeah. All it means now is I need wider support blocks, and I think I might have some. Okay. Haha! Some 1-inch sapele mahogany from my stash. I'm going to say it was not easy to get to. All right, let me turn this into something we can do here. So what I'll do, I have 2 of these, and I'll set these up so they sit in and the tread sit on them. The extra inch gives me a full 3/8, almost 1/4 to 3/8 for the tread to sit on. And the slice pieces are a strong 3/8 to 7/16. So cool, so cool. I cut that a little long because I was nervous. Oh, good thing I did too. Oh, love it, 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 love it. Okay, now interestingly, the next two cuts aren't as crucial because it's basically going to be a 24-inch tread with the little blocks at the end to be made into whatever goes on after. What I do have to do is keep track of which are which. So I'm going to do that by pre-marking. And 2 goes right there. That is the single most important test in this entire project. The fact that when I lifted it, the balance point sits against the top step without tumbling back down again. Because while I'm reaching here for whatever it is I'm reaching in here, I'm awfully glad that that wouldn't fall back down on me. Okay, okay. One more. We're on a roll. There. It's almost a staircase, folks. Okay, so I don't lose track of what I'm doing, I'm going to mark the side that goes against the tread. That'll sand off after, which will go against the fence. Yeah, okay, all right. Right, this one, that'll go in easy. Woohoo, just disappears. And this one, oh yeah, nice. A little snug at first, but that's okay because the sanding will look after that. But up here, and the next step, love it, love it, love it. Let's call it a day. Tomorrow we'll take it all apart. Sand it all, glue it. Oh, good things are happening. Well, good morning. I am so thrilled with this. I love it, love it, love it. Especially the little extension pieces that, okay, I know they're fiddly and we all know that there's a chance they'll break off, but I'm gonna try. Okay, so it's basically made. Now it's gotta come apart and sand everything and set up the piano hinges, which is going to be no fun, and put it back together as a glue up. Let's go. Okay, definitely got to do some marking. So this is one. All right, so with that apart, the exposed area of this has already been sanded. What I need to do is just clean up a little bit inside with a sanding sponge where I have pencil marks, especially this stray one, which is really annoying me. Of course, this is veneered plywood, so you mustn't sand through the veneer. And on to the grunt work. No great joy here for sure. When easing across the grain, be very careful you don't drop the sandpaper onto the surface and put scratches across the grain because they'll show up forever. On a bullnose edge like this, be very cautious using any sander that's flat, either the sander or a sanding block. If you're very careful, you can work your way along, and I generally feel I'm pretty good at it, but I would rather just use something that can conform to the shape of my hand, and that way I get a guaranteed nice round over. And this is just one of those Abernet sanding discs that are so good for so many things. Well, good morning, folks. It's Saturday morning, and I'm about to put this episode up, but realized last night during the edit, there's no way I can get all the footage I need to put into this. So, yes, again, there'll be a bonus episode tomorrow to wrap it up and keep it in full time. And that'll explain the sort of out-of-context beer of the week you're about to watch, or some of you are. Cheers! Well, hello and welcome to the Travels with Geordie Beer of the Week. This being our first Bridge Deck Beer of the Week for 2021. Spring has hit hard in Victoria and it's absolutely glorious. I'm loving it. Okay, we're going back to a reputable brewery. This is the Souk Oceanside Brewery and it's their Renfrew Red Ale. And I'm really quite excited about it. I think it's perfectly appropriate for today. So excited and thrilled and satisfied about that companionway stair. I think that worked out really well. Can't wait to get some more finish on it and get it into service, because as I've said before, I'm getting tired of jumping up over that hole. Okay, let's see. Woohoo! Little head at the end. I'm taking a risk there. I really am. Okay, the Souk's Oceanside Brewery Renfrew Red Ale. Cheers. Oh, it's just perfect for today. Oh gosh, I'm up here all the rest of the afternoon. This is perfect. Okay, let's get to some housekeeping, because we don't have much to get through, and I can put you on your way. Last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt is George Emily. So George, get in touch with me and you've won yourself a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. Had a new PayPal supporter come on this last week. Thanks so much. And that's Michael Ballinger. Cheers, Michael. Thanks ever so much for coming aboard. Oh yeah, this is nice. Okay, that takes us right to the word of the week, and it's actually perfectly opportune. Satisfying, yes. Everything I've done this week has been so satisfying, including sitting here talking to you right now and drinking this beer. You know what to do. See you next week. Cheers.